a bed bug bite. And usually it's just like a little mosquito, and I don't even feel it. There's that tiny little spot. Other times it feels like you're getting stabbed, like maybe with a needle. Is it a tear down my eye? This camera doesn't even pick it up. Hey, here's something cool. This I got from Trek when I went to visit a billionaire and I was invited to his home. So I stole that from his gate. This I found on the side of a garbage bin where a homeless person's belongings were filling up the bin. So I think a homeless that this came from someone who has everything, and this comes from someone who has nothing. I just realized that 2 minutes ago when I was thinking if I should do this video, and animal liberation activist. He said that, yesterday, I listened to one of his live streams. He said, you need to get out of your own head, stop ruminating, and just literally like think positively, because if you know, he didn't say it like that, but so I went later that day and I put on my headphones, and they have this little knob to turn things on, and I thought to myself, I remembered Vegan Gain saying that, and I said to myself, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to think differently. I'm going to get out of that loop. And it will be the smallest thing. I'm going to use my left hand to turn the knob instead of the right hand to turn the knob. And then throughout the day, it's just little tiny things. I was paying attention to just thinking, being conscious, thinking, feeling, you know, things that we all forget to do. And I thought, oh boy, how nice would it be to live in a nice house? Because I looked at someone's nice house, and then I thought, well, you know, take the first step. And I sent a message, and of course, everything in life is a scam. That's why old people are sad all the time. It's not because their faces droop, it's because everything's a scam, and they just realize that over time. Yeah, what am I even saying? So nice suite, and it was like a den in a luxury apartment with a pool and a jacuzzi and all this stuff. And it's at a, you know, like I make like $6,000 a month, but I also spend $6,000 a month. So I'm always literally broke, like literally zero money. Like literally don't eat like 3 days before payday. But I thought, hey, I'm going to reply to this ad. And of course, everything's a scam, it's broken. The email didn't send. So I sent it through the web version instead of the app. It didn't send. And I just kept sending it. And all day I was like, I'm sending this fucking message. Like, this is getting through. And after like an hour, it went through. And I was like, oh, hallelujah, finally. Done with that. Small progress for the day. You know, send one email. Someday I'll move out of this disgusting, overpriced, dilapidated hellhole. And I ended up being invited for a viewing, and before the viewing I thought, oh man, for the last 3 years my rent has been late every single time except twice. I don't have the money, but I'm gonna try anyways, because if everything goes through well, I still have my work reference, and I still have a payday in 3 days. So, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Great guy, met him, awesome, clicked right away. Within 5 minutes, he's like, "You got the place. If you want it, just give me a deposit." I'm like, "Oh my God, yes, done." And then I rambled a little bit, and after 10 minutes of me talking nonstop, I got the place. So it's just, yeah. I'm leaving here, and I want to leave behind a lot of things. I want to leave behind this rumination. I want to leave behind this, you never really get a fresh start. The only fresh start you get is when you're born. But I feel like it's time to just leave this behind, to leave the whole ghetto thing behind, and bring out the, God, just like those two guys here, want to go from fags to bitches. Sorry. I'm so sorry, but I want to, as always, have it in one take, just be transparent and everything, unscripted. I'm going to exercise for the last time. I'm saying this because as humans, we need to express ourselves and have some sort of closure. And I just think it's the most important thing in our society, in our lives, is injustice. And the bed bug bite woke me up because I had a dream that I was being stabbed. And it was a really nice dream. I was hanging out with friends. There was two girls hitting on me. One was Sydney Sweeney, which I know nothing about, but I was just watching Shoe on Head, and she was doing a thing about her. And so her face was kind of in the forefront of my mind. And there was also the girl that plays Jessica Jones. She's a fox. And she was like hugging me a little, like kind of like, pulling on my shirt a little, like flirtatious. I was having the best dream. And then all of a sudden I'm stabbed, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I look down on my leg, and I can feel something's wet. And then I pulled the pants down a little bit, and I ripped through. In the dream, for some reason, I had long johns on, and I ripped through the second pair of fabric, and I find blood. And then I try to figure out where it's coming from, and I was slashing, and I look up, and someone just walked by, like they had a little keychain knife, and they just like nicked me a little bit to, do something. And all of a sudden, these people that I thought were my friends surrounded me, and they said, "Oh, you should go to the hospital." And all of a sudden, there was an ambulance outside, and the two guys looked like they didn't know what they were doing. And I thought, no, that's not a real ambulance. And I was like, this is all suspicious. I got to make a phone call. And I went to call the cops. And then I put the phone back because cops don't do anything from my experience. And then I had an argument with the guy. I turned around, and all the girls were gone. And one was crying, and then we ran down a thing, and we hid in like a room, and I just woke up. But I was sort of thinking about, like, why would I think this? And it reminded me of this time that the police arrested me, and they took me to the hospital because I didn't do anything criminal. I was just protesting, and I was speaking loudly. So, they told me to shut up, and I didn't. That's basically it, or something like that. I'll explain it in a moment. I have a few minutes to go to work, but I want to get this out of my system and just forget about it for the rest of my life, even though I never will. But if anyone ever wants to talk about it, I'm not even going to entertain it. I don't think I'm ever even going to talk to police. One-word answers, pull my camera, record them, give them the finger. I think everyone should do that. And they're criminals with badges. They literally assault their spouses, 30% of police officers have self-reported themselves abusing their spouses, which is in line with their spouses reporting that their police officer spouse has abused them. Also, they're 4 times more likely to commit a violent offense towards their spouse, just like the military. Police attracts sociopaths and psychopaths. You give anyone power, it'll corrupt them, and they're just gangsters with like glorified security guards with badges, and it's just like I always respected police, and I always had no qualms with them, and understood that they are a necessity for society. But it's disgusting, all the corruption and everything. So the bed bug bite doesn't hurt, really. It's the psychology of it that hurts, and I think it's the same with people. It's like, when the police arrest me and they purposely tighten up my cuffs like as tight as they can, where my bone is bruised, where they hold you like a death grip, even though your shoulders are back, you're totally relaxed, totally complying. It's the psychology of it, and people are so visual. They always judge every book by its cover, and maybe that's why I got the place when I got it, is because I just was calm and cool and collected in that moment, and that's what most people judge people on, is by their vibe. I usually don't. I'm just in a rush, and oh man, I can't sleep. Okay, I'm just gonna go through it. Okay, so I wanted to say every interaction I've ever had with police, I wanted to talk about literally every single one, and surprise, surprise, literally every single one of them has been a negative experience where the police officers made things worse. So I'm on probation right now, and I think there's a good chance that I might go to jail for just making this video, which is just bananas. But it's the truth. Truth is singular. All its versions are mistruths. So I will tell you exactly what happened with every single one. That is my wake-up call telling me I have 5 minutes to get to work, but I'll just ignore it. It's fine. So the first interaction I had with police that I can remember was when I was a kid at school, and a cop came and said, ask me questions, whatever. They held up like a car, and they said, pretend that this person hurt you, and they went in this car, and then he runs by with the sign, and you're like, what was the license plate number on that car? And like the smart kid in the front of the class is like, the license plate number was so-and-so. And I'm in the back of the class like, man, I can't see the license plate. And I asked the cop, like, can I see your badge? And he says, that's a really unique question. And I was like, I'm a really unique boy. No one's ever asked me to show you my badge. And we passed it along to class. It was a great interaction. I always liked police. But it's just like friendships, they're all sunshine and bunnies until there's a problem, and then you see people's true colors. So, oh my gosh, my breath is so rancid. Boop, boop, boopity doop. Next one. I was in Ladner as a teenager, dressed gothic with spikes, trench coat, garbage bag full of laundry, going to my mom's place to do laundry. Cops pull me over because, the sun set, and they go, there's been a crime in the area. They go, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just going to my mom's place to do laundry. And they say, there's been a breaking and entering in the area, and you're a suspect, so we have to search you. I said, there's no way you're going to search me. They said, we will search you or we will arrest you. And I said, fine, go ahead. It's laundry. And they went through like my dirty underwear and socks and everything, and they patted me down, emptied my pockets. And then they said, you're free to go. And I'm like, that makes no sense. Like, if I was a suspect, there would be like more to it than that, right? You know, they would like measure my footprint to like match a footprint on the scene or something. Anyways, it was very obvious that my rights have been violated. I was pigeonholed, stereotyped. And the next one, I was in Port Moody, and the police again, you know, pulled me over. They say, "What are you doing?" There was a break and enter. And I don't think they searched me that time, but it was very annoying. And I'm kind of rushing through these because they're not that important. I was at a 7-Eleven, and I was waiting in Coquitlam for a bus, and some guys were just calling me names for some reason, like literally no reason. And I told him, I challenged him to a fight basically. And they said, "Stay right there, I'll be right back." And they ran off, and they came back with like 10 guys. They must have had a party or something. And the biggest guy like walked right up to me. And I saw they had weapons on them. And I just went into the 7-Eleven, and I called the police. And while I was in the 7-Eleven, they were all surrounding me, like close enough where the cameras wouldn't notice like who shanked me, like kind of close enough, and they'd get away with it. And the biggest guy, which was like huge, was, I mean, he was, but he was Bill. And he didn't even say a thing, man. He was like so ready. And you always know someone's going to swing when they stop talking. But I called the police, and they said, "Yeah, we're busy right now. Just walk away." And I'm like, and I called a taxi. A taxi pulled up, and I went right from that door into the taxi. And those guys, you know, I didn't disrespect them or anything. So they kind of just backed down. But the cops did nothing. Another time I was in my early 20s, and I was a restaurant manager at Orange Kitchen and Bar in Port Moody. And I called the Port Moody police, or sorry, it was Port Coquitlam. And I called those police, and I said, there's this lady, she was crying. She had 6 shots of vodka. And she had an argument and broke up with her boyfriend, and she's erratic. She just got into her pickup truck with a lift kit, and she very aggressively backed out of it and without any coordination. She's drinking and driving, and she's probably going to hurt someone. So we need you down here. And they said, "Oh, we don't have the resources for that. So, you know, just forget about it." And I laughed at the operators. What are you? What is this? The right phone number? This is 911, right? Like, just meet her at her house. Like, I have her name, I have her credit card information because she paid with the card, her license plate number, thanks to that cop who taught me. And you know, just show up to her house, and you'll get there before she does because she's wasted. And she ran a red light once I hung up the phone. And just meet her there and arrest her. And she's like, "No, we don't do that." And I'm like, "You're useless." And I just hung up the phone, right? There were a couple more. I was a security guard at Army Navy Department store on Hastings and Abbott, Pigeon Park, Belly of the Beast, literally the crime capital of Canada. You could argue, you know, maybe Surrey's pretty bad, or Toronto. Guys smoking a cigarette right outside of the door that I'm guarding, and I, you know, just said, "Please put it out and take a few steps back if you're going to smoke." He says, "No, not doing that." And I said, "Put it out, or I'll put it out for you." I have no problem with physically making you put out your cigarette. And he says, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get all my buddies and we're gonna mess you up. I have friends, I have backup." Just asking the guy to put out a cigarette. I'm a non-smoker, and it's irritating my lungs. The cop takes a second to think, just kicks the guy as hard as he can with a good push right above the hip in the kidney. The guy falls and starts coughing, like winded him. And then the cop says, "Get the fuck out of here." And the guy crawls away from the door. And he's like, "You ever need anything, you know who to call." And I'm like, "Yeah, you got it. Thanks, dude." That was insane. Another thing that was like remarkable, that just when you learn something new, your brain just lights up. Like, I remember just like it blew my mind. I felt like electricity flying out of me. I was kind of like lazy. I was kind of like wandering. I was outside getting some fresh air and sort of like leaning on a bus stop. And it's like the shelter thing with the bench. And there was a cop, like there was a cop. And he came up beside me. And if someone's below your shoulder, your peripheral vision doesn't catch it, but I just caught like a little movement and I look over to see what it is. There's a cop like crouching beside me and he's got his gun. He's got his fucking gun in his hand and he's using me as a human shield. I'm not even exaggerating in the slightest. And I look at him like, whoa. And the guy's like, he doesn't even say anything. He just kind of like walks around me. And then I immediately look around and I notice that there are other police officers with pistols drawn and they're kind of like enclosing an apartment building that's across the street. Because sometimes we would have murders. I've witnessed them all the time. There's a guy who, just like in the Pulp Fiction movie, saw someone crossing the street who's like a rival and they hit him with the car. And all these cops came out, and then the guy punched a female cop. And if you punch a female cop, that is the worst way to offend someone for cops. And all you see is like batons just like dancing around this blue mass of like, it was like 10 cops by that time, or like 15 cops. And I think they beat that guy to death. I've seen them, just arrest a guy for jaywalking, pull out his pockets, bring him down to the ground, and stomp on his crack pipe right in front of his eyes so the glass went in his eyes. The guy was so badass. He was laughing. He was showing off the dents in his head that he has from batons. Like, it was a wild thing, and I have a million stories with that. I'll do a tell-all for that. But wow, I digress. But yeah, I was used as a human shield. Absolutely bananas. Just totally, completely insane. I was in Coquitlam, and I was walking at nights, as always, kind of dressed like, kind of macabre. And I'm eating, like, I went to 7-Eleven, got some roasted nuts. And I see a police officer, like a cruiser, a block away, and I thought, watch, this asshole's gonna turn on his lights and, interrogate me and give me this whole song and dance about how there was a break and enter in the area. So yeah, so he, of course, flashes his lights, and I'm not committing a crime, so what the hell do I care? That must be for some traffic violation that someone else is doing. Completely ignored him, just walked right by the cruiser, minding my own business, eating my nuts. And he comes out, and I didn't even hear him. He tackles me, just full on, didn't even say anything, just tackles me, boom, right into the ground. I pull him off of me, and I run like a few steps away from him, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? He says, give me your ID. Like, what? Like, how about a hello? And I go right in front of his cruiser, so the camera captures it. And I said, I'll do that in a moment, but I'm just going to go in front of your camera so that you are being recorded because you just assaulted me for absolutely no reason. In fact, I'm going to call the police. And I called the police on him, and they came. I didn't say anything to the guy. They came and they didn't arrest him, but they told him to go and sit in his car. They come up to me and they said, "You're free to go." And oh no, first they said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm just holding my nutsack talking to a cop. And they're like, "Well, what is this? What's going on here?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm just holding my nuts talking to a cop." Like, nothing happened. The guy just tackled me for no reason, like full blast. And anyways, they just said, "You're free to go. Just go." So I went. And more recently with the activism, with the, protests against animal exploitation and non-vegan lifestyle, where I recite Gary Yourofsky's The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. I was at a street corner and I was literally just reciting it. Sometimes people give me the finger, I give them the finger back. I'm going to stop doing that, by the way. It just leads to nothing. And, like there was that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the hot dog vendor takes offense to me being there just because he thinks, or he would like to have this imaginary story that his business is being compromised by my outreach, where I'm literally going word for word talking about being better people. And the hot dog vendor gives hot dogs to the homeless and tells them to fight me. And the one guy accepted his offer, and he started circling me, like ready to go. And I remember this guy from back in the day. We used to call him Mushroom Dick because his pants would fall off when we would arrest him, and he would shit his pants, or he was a teeny tiny little mushroom. And I was like, Mushroom Dick, like, calm the fuck down. Same with the hot dog. I'm actually a black belt, so I legally have to tell you that I possess what they call a death card. So I might accidentally hurt you, just so you know. And the guy's so struggling. I'm like, oh, okay, get out of here, you're vegan, trying to bring down the hot dog industry. And the cops show up, someone calls the cops. And the cops say, what's going on? And I'm like, well, this guy just came up to me. He wanted to fight me. I didn't do anything, just kind of circled him. And that was it. And they said, put on your mask because it was COVID. And I'm like, I don't have a mask. I don't have to really put one on. You don't have one on. Your partner doesn't have a mask on. Why would I put on a mask? And they take me, they pin me up against the wall, and like shoulders against the wall, like bam, put my face, like get the mask on, as if I was like Hannibal Lecter. And I'm just, again, in complete shock because I forget that police are criminals. At that point, I'm like, I'm pretty much done with talking to police. It's just going to be one-word answers from now on. And I just went on with the protest, and just to let everyone know what's going on, I said, all animals are individuals. Human beings are herbivores. If you're not a vegan, you are an animal abuser. Watch Dominion.com. Listen to Gary Yourofsky's The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. I just repeated that over and over again. They said, this guy's crazy. Should we send him to jail or send him to the mental hospital? And they said, let's send him to the hospital, which is just a normal hospital, which has a psychologist, which, by the way, didn't say a word or do anything. Yeah, they literally, and I sat in the car, and I just kept saying that, right, over and over again. And the female officer that's on steroids, has lots of tattoos, short hair, obviously the manliest woman you could imagine. And she says, shut up, you schizophrenic freak. And I said, oh, we're name calling. Well, look at you, trying to be a big, strong man because stepdaddy touched you in the naughty area. So now you have to prove that you're a big, strong woman. And she got so pissed when I said that because it was right on the fucking money. She gets out, slams the car door, and says, I can't deal with this guy. I can't deal with this guy. I'm not in that cruiser. And she left. And then some other cop came in and they drove me there. They transported me into the van, and then they drove me there, and then, they walked me over there, and I was totally cooperating. The show was over, right? And they saw that I had, like, they strapped me down to a chair, creepy stuff, like getting abducted by alien stuff. And successful. You're very well regarded, high status, wealthy. You're the most superior animal on this planet. Like, what gives you the right to take anything from these sweet little angels? And he said nothing, because there's nothing to say. And at that point, they pulled off my shoes for some reason, and then they saw that I have thick cotton socks, and I'm vegan, so they're cotton. And they all pointed and started laughing, and they said, "He's got wool socks on. Look at him. He's got wool socks. Wool socks. Hey, Mr. Wool Socks. Oh, why are we talking about veganism when we wear wool socks?" And it was the most like insane, unhinged thing. And I was like saying something like, that's nothing compared to what you do, even if they were wool socks. You know, I would have got those by mistake. And that really got them upset, and they just started stabbing me with needles. It was like 9 needle holes. And it just blacked me out. Like, there's no such thing as truth serum. There's no such thing as, you know, hypno juice or whatever. But the police just injected me with 9. I found in the morning 9 marks of some kind of needle, because I'm a very big guy. I was like 240 pounds at that time. And maybe it didn't knock me out. Maybe they were trying to knock me out. And I remember like going through like these layers, like everything was like a oh man. Oh my God, the 5-dimensional shape. Anyways, it was very trippy. Just like everything was duplicated. The room, I could see it upwards and downwards, and in front and behind, left and right, like duplicates of the same room. And I was kind of like falling through them, just like in that movie. I woke up and fell back asleep and woke up. There was a police officer beside me, and I said, "Am I free to go?" And he says, "I don't see why not." And they undid the straps and just let me walk out, and that was it. And then the next day, a police officer knocked on my door with someone that's like 500 pounds. And they said, "Oh, how's your mental health? Are you hearing voices? Is the TV talking to you? Do you have superpowers?" And I said, "No, I'm not hearing voices. No, the TV's not talking to me. The only superpower I have is I can read people's emotions very well, because as a misanthrope, I don't like or trust people. So I focus more on their body language, their heart rate, pupil dilation, things of this nature. So I would say I sort of have a superpower." And that was pretty much it, and never saw them again. And he said to me, oh, you know that one guy that we arrested for you? He's still in jail. And I'm like, "Oh, great, that's nice." And that's another one I actually forgot about, was a guy came, told me, "Shut up, stop protesting," smashed my $2,500 camera. And I called cops, and I followed him into the SkyTrain. And I picked up that emergency phone, and I was like, "I was just assaulted. I need police." And then he went down to the train, and I punched a little glass thing, and I pulled a little button out so the train doesn't move. And the guy noticed that he's stuck, and he got out, and then he chased me on the street, and then he chased me down the street and back up, and then across the street, and then back. And we just, like, I kept like a good like 50 feet away from him, but I'm incredibly fast. So the second he would turn around, I was again like just 10 feet away from him again. And he got into a taxi cab, and I told the taxi to stop. And by then the police came, they arrested him. They found all sorts of paraphernalia and stuff. And he was like wanted. So the cops pull me aside, and they, say, "You're under arrest. We can't have somebody running around here, hitting emergency buttons and draining our resources." And I said, "Okay, arrest me. I'll have a nice big payday. It'll be the easiest, like 50 or 80 grand I've ever got in my life. So go right ahead." And he says, he says, "Wait 1 second," and he walks away, and then he comes back, and he's like, "You're free to go." Just don't come back here or we will arrest you. You're not allowed to come back to this area. And then earlier that day, he was just looking for something to do. He says, I'm ex-military, I have a knife on me. If you don't shut up, I'll kill you. And go ahead. And I started jumping up and down. And he says, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm figuring out your weak spots. I'm warming up my body. I'm preparing to fight you. And then he lunged at me and I grabbed his elbows and I waited for him to push me. And then when he pushed me, I pulled so that the force of his push and my pull made him off balance. And then I threw him into traffic right in front of a car that stopped just before it hit him, broke his elbow, blood everywhere. He backed off. And the police said, you know, he thought you were going to rob him. So because he's homeless, we're just going to let him go. He's cuckoo. And I said, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I'm not pressing charges. I literally just want to get through the speech. And then, yeah, they said like you did the right thing and everything. Later on, the other guy came and smashed my cameras. That's why the police officer said, you can't keep draining our resources. So whatever you're doing, you have to stop doing it, which means you actually don't have freedom to protest or freedom of speech in Canada. You absolutely do not. It is totally an illusion. It's theater. If they want to do anything to you, they will. If you're disrespectful or something, hurt their feelings, they'll do everything in their power to make you feel their wrath. Yeah, I mean, just constantly harassed by police, constantly. So there was a time when that hot dog vendor called one of his friends to bring out a stereo and they're playing music and to drown out my protest, and the guy's dancing in front of me to trigger me or something. And then he goes, you want to fight? And I called the cops and I said, this guy wants to fight me. And these guys, they've like smashed the hot dog vendor himself has ran up to me, taken my laptop and smashed it. They've done all sorts of wild things. And yeah, God, I don't even want to think about it. Oh my God, get out of my head. I'm so not in the mood. I'm exhausted. I'm just so tired. What the hell was I saying? Yeah, whatever, man. Stupid guy comes up to me and he says, you want to fight? I called cops. I go across the street. There were 8 of them arresting a guy for shoplifting. And I said, I'm sure you can pull one of you guys aside. I mean, you're all just standing there watching. And you could see the situation because I'm about to get assaulted. And I went back and I called the police like 2 times. And they just said, oh, just walk away both times. I knocked on the window of a cop car that pulled up on the side and says, can you come around? Do you see this guy? And this guy's like in front of me. He's bleeding from the face. Like he's got a knife clipped on him. And the cop's like, yeah, sure. And he's like, I'm going to circle the block. And he just leaves and doesn't come back. So on like the 4th or 5th attempt of reaching out to the police, I said, you know, this is not a threat, but if this guy attacks me, I'm not going to fight him. I'm just going to throw him into traffic. And they took that as a death threat. So again, they just said, just leave. And then they hung up and someone showed up. They weren't even going to arrest me. And by the way, when the police show up, the first thing they do is they turn off your camera. They turn off your devices. He saw I was live streaming. He just closed the laptop and I was like, no, don't. And already closed it. He said, what's going on? I explained, and he says, you should just leave. And obviously there's going to be confrontation because this guy's a hot dog vendor and you have to be respectful of that. And I was like, the hell does that mean? And I gave him the finger and I was like, you're fucking useless. Fuck you. I was like, fuck you, suck my dick, eat my nut. And that's when he looked at his partner and he's like, should we? And she's like, yeah. And they arrested me. And they both got, I skipped my last anger management meeting because it was Thanksgiving. And I assume everybody would be eating a fucking turkey. So I said to my probation officer, how does someone teach a course called Living Without Violence when they themselves enthusiastically, knowingly endorse the most violent and abusive Holocaust in history? Rape, violence, torture, neglect, abuse, murder. He had someone else come to me and say, next time you talk to a police officer, please be respectful. In jail, they turned the heat down so cold that you can almost see your breath. I took the toilet paper and I made like shoes out of it to stay warm. They were just, manhandling me, yelling at me. Then I go see my probation officer because apparently I have anger issues. Apparently when someone is violating my rights, that's not cool with me. They are nothing, and you basically gaslight. It's like you make them feel safer in your own reality than in theirs, and you break their spirits, and they're never going to break me ever. Like, I will be in prison fighting off shanks before I lie and submit to a police officer. That's just fiction, imaginary stories. And so I'm always very very honest with my probation officer. I hope that's everything. I know I missed some things, and I might by the cops. I suddenly didn't trust like the justice system. And by the way, this is one of my most proudest quotes. What I have is, we humans have taken a path so dark we can't even see it anymore. I'm a quotes guy. I try to make them up. Like, I don't trust the people around me. I now, like 5 years later, have a dream in my subconscious where I'm stabbed and suddenly don't trust the people around me. And it was because I got like a little mosquito bite, and that triggered it. So it's just wild. I needed to get that off my chest. I'm sure I'm going to be involved with the police so much. When FIFA comes in next year, I'm going to be protesting every day. I guarantee you I'll be in jail for 5 years. If not, it's inevitable. And I really don't care. I really don't mind. I enjoy jail. Just be yourself. Don't lie to them. You can lie to cops. Do not lie to criminals. Just be yourself. And, they're people just like you. Respect goes both ways, whether you're two squirrels fighting over a nut, or whether you're, billionaires or people really struggling. But yeah, I hope I leave all this stuff behind. I might take these two with me, but literally it's just going to be my passport, and I'm throwing everything away and starting a fresh life. So I want to get that out of my system. I know I missed a few. If they come up, they come up. This has been my laundry schedule, which laundry machine works, which one does not work. I actually find the beauty in destruction. Like, I think it's just, there's something beautiful about the marks. And I just, the textures, I'm going to miss this place. I am going to miss this place. Anyways, I might add some things on. I hopefully just forget everything, but I'll quickly go through these comments. TS Pure Peak, by the way. Oh, sad face. How you doing? I'm doing really well. I'm actually. I think. How are you? Is the most annoying question, especially if you're like fighting depression your whole life. But how are you? How am I? I'm the same as always. Every day's the same. I'm putting out fires constantly. So I'm euphoric. I'm hitting my weight loss goals. I'm hitting my everything. I'm so happy. My dog, I'm a dog walker. I'm training. I spent a year socializing them, and they're finally at the point where they can go into a dog park and play with the dogs without attacking them. That like almost brought a tear to my eye. That made me so happy that they get to live like a good life. And all I care about is the 30 dogs I care for, which I got to go and feed right now. So myself, I would make my 8-year-old and 80-year-old self proud. I wouldn't change a thing. I've never been more clear-headed. And is cheating on you or, doing something like that, it ruins everything. So how am I really doing? Well, I'm on a planet, prison, backwards land where everyone's a complete lunatic. Everyone has mental issues. Usually when people are stressed, they come out, but everyone has every mental illness. It's just who has which one worse. Everyone has their own reality. Like I actually believe that things should be like in The Circle with Tom Hanks and Emma Watson, where everyone is recorded all the time and nobody has privacy. I mean, these people deserve to be treated the way they treat their victims, these animals. What day is it? What day of the week is it? Oh, it's Friday. It's not today. But yeah, how am I doing? I'm doing great. I'm great. I love myself. I love everything. I love reality. I love that things even exist. This universe could be a universe of nothing. Whatever. I'm happy to have the people I have in my life, which are, of course, my best friends, all the dogs, all the animal liberation activists, and everyone else doesn't matter. Honestly, like even vegans don't matter. If you're not an activist, you're not even vegan. You did it for your own identity. The reason the world is not vegan is because of vegans, because they didn't teach them. Just like if my dog would just go into the dog park and start biting all these dogs, I would be responsible for it, because the dog doesn't know better. So I had to train them for a year just to get like a basic thing. So yeah, but like vegans have to be active. It takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You literally just pull out a Sharpie, write down "Go Vegan" on anything. It could be a cone. It could be a sign I took once from a real estate agent while they were watching me, and I didn't care. And I wrote "Go Vegan," and I just walked over and I just held it there, and they went, "Oh, okay, I see what they're doing," and they just left. And like, just literally take 5 minutes, holding a sign. Don't say anything. Somebody comes up to you, have a conversation, talk to them. Like they were your friend. Think in your head, I like this person, I like this person, I like this person, and force yourself to have a pleasant conversation with them. You could save 3,000 lives doing that. That's the USDA stat. That's the average amount of victims that a non-vegan has. So please go be vegan. I'm trying not to be stressed, trying not to take things personally. It's kind of like I'm just in my own little cave looking down on a village of other cave people and watching them all attack each other. And once in a while, when I feel strong enough, I go down there and I say, "Hey, knock it off, you guys." But I really like to go back to my cave and just kind of, I love you too, my friend. You deserve all the best in the world. That is so sweet. You guys, you look healthy. Thanks, man. Man, stop it. Someone asks, why are you protesting FIFA? Oh, no, it's just where there's a lot of people. So if there's like a parade, if there's fireworks, if there's a concert, if there's a convention, that's when you go and you protest. You stand on the street with that sign that says "Go Vegan." And although you will statistically reach out to 5% of the population that are psychopaths and sociopaths, you will also reach out to that 5% of the population that's just on the edge of going vegan, even if it's subconscious. And just push them. So just get out there every single day. It's a habit. It's like time's an illusion. Like and protesting is a lie. I mean, procrastination is a lie. You just need to live in the moment, be who you are, And don't like if you stop working out, it's so much harder to get back into that headspace. So once you're in that headspace, once everything's arranged the way it needs to be and all the neural pathways are firing the way they're supposed to, keep it going. Whatever you do, frequently, your brain will subconsciously understand as being important. That's why instead of studying like one solid study session, it's a lot better to just skim through it multiple times. And then your brain goes, oh, this is important. Just like people, the faces you see most often are the faces that your brain tells you are the most important. So go out there, do what you do. But really, this is just my venting. I'm going to also do one about my family, about my childhood. Not ready for that one yet. And, all these tell-alls where I just get it out of my system and I just leave it to rest. And if anyone ever says, hey, what happened with that thing? I'll say, check out the tell-all, find the one you're looking for and figure that out. Luckily, I don't have one about my ex, although there were intense moments in that relationship, as all, high school sweethearts that stay together for 16 years have. Nothing, she wasn't like a, I'm trying to find a word. When you learn a new word, you try to use it so you don't forget it. Nefarious. She's not a nefarious person. We always had a good thing. So luckily there's not going to be one about my ex. She's a sweetheart and I wish her all the best. People change, things change. You end up breaking up. For me, really, it was pretty much because I wanted to focus on the animals. This sounds insane, but her grandma was dying and I didn't want to hear about it. I just wanted to go and protest. I didn't want to stay up all night. It felt like there was always something distracting me and I just started cutting everything out. Cut her out, cut my family out, cut my friends out, quit the stressful job, left the stressful roommates, always just leaving. And oh, there's another one. Yeah, this is just going to keep coming up. One roommate was upstairs and he was just beating the shit out of one of his friends. He's notorious for putting people in the chokehold, choking them out. And like there was blood, like the guy ran out of the room, ran downstairs and like there was blood all down the walls, every handprint, every railing. And the police came maybe 3 minutes later and they just like kick the fucking door and run up the stairs. Like you just hear these boots and I just I'm in my room just ignoring, let the gangsters upstairs take care of their own business. And they realized that the room's empty and then the cops just left. And I thought, what about me? What about this room? Like, I'm here. Why didn't you check in on me? What if I'm being hurt in my room? What if there's a gun pointed to my head? And that was another time when I thought, man, police really suck. I don't know if they were lazy, but it was a Friday night. They probably had a lot of calls, or maybe they ran out to chase the guy. Anyways, if they come up, they come up, but that's the last time I'm talking about police ever. And I really got to go feed these dogs. They start getting pretty aggressive when they're not fed. I feel it, man. Being around death and sickness is really difficult. You feel obligated to stick around, but it's really draining. You get the idea. It's like it never ends, and there's always something to be sad about. And I mean, she wasn't really that close with her grandmother, so I feel like it was a bit of a attention thing. And I was sort of thinking it's kind of always about you, isn't it? And when I asked her, why don't you go vegan? She says, and we split up like a week later. So before I cry, I'm going to go. And, guys, just stuff.